Hello, world. I'm back with our second to last lecture. In this lecture, we'll be doing windows and roofs. As you can see, I've shaved and I got a haircut. So, feeling pretty fresh. I always think I look weird shaved. So, there's that. So, let's add some windows to our model. So, here I am in the 3D view. I'm actually going to go up to the rotation cube here, right click and do perspective view, just to give you an idea of what that's like. Feels a little more natural than our orthographic view. The other thing we can do is I can highlight these levels here, and I can, so just to review that, I did a left click bottom right to upper left, so anything that it crosses will be selected. Whereas if I go the other direction, you can see that it's a non-dashed line, and it will only select what's in the boundary box. So dash line, it's like whatever it crosses. Solid line, it's whatever is within the rectangle. So I'm just going to select these two levels, and I'm going to right click and say hide in view elements. Now we can just focus on the actual model and just see what we have here. So again, making a very simple model. It's a one-story office building. We have several office spaces up here. These last two rooms will be, say, restrooms, and this is just open office space. Okay, so let's add some windows. So I'm actually going to go to the level 1 floor plan. Here we are, and I can tell right now that my thin lines are turned on. We talked about those in previous lectures, but that's this button up here. So I'm going to turn that off so I can see my line weights. There's nothing more important than line weights because it really shows what's cut and what's not. So Revit, everything's built in, and in CAD, you sort of had to do that manually, which is, of course, a really good exercise to go through. You have to go through line weights. You have to do it the long way so that you understand exactly the rules that are set up in creating line weights and what they're setting out to do. I'm assuming you all know that because you were taught so well last semester. Okay, so let's do 2 windows per office. So in this one, I'm just going to do 2 like windows, right? One right here and one right here. So I'm going to go up to architecture, tab in the build panel. I'm going to go to window. And if I click my type selector here, there's a bunch in here. I'm just going to stick with fixed. And right now we have, look at all these, 16 by 72. Actually, that sounds like a cool proportion. It's going to be a nice long skinny window, 6 feet long, 16 inches wide. And we have other options there. So I'm going to do 16 by 72. And I'm just going to hover over right in this area. And you can see that I can decide sort of where the glass lives, more towards the outside or more towards the inside. I'm going to do more towards the outside, and I'm going to play it in an arbitrary location. I'm just going to place it. Okay, and I'm going to do another one, arbitrary location somewhere here. Okay. Okay, hit escape a couple times. So we've put 2 windows in. Let's look at our 3D model and just sort of see what happened here. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Okay, I'm digging how that looks. I'm not so certain on their location. Couple things to point out. I'm going to just turn off my shadow. So there we go. So I did that in the bottom view tab, if you remember. Right there, that little sphere with a shadow. So a couple things to point out. If I select one of these windows, it says the top of the window is at 7 feet. The sill height is at 1 foot. So that leaves 6 foot in between. So I'm going to get 1 foot from the floor to the bottom of the window. Maybe I want to do 1.5 feet for that. So I just changed that, and notice how that window just moved up. And then the head height also changed to 7'6". So I'm going to undo that. So I'm going to select both windows. I clicked one, held control, and clicked the other one. Oh, it doesn't let me change them both at the same time, does it? Well, let's just try sill height, 1.5 feet. There we go. Okay. It looked like that one was not changed back, but it wasn't. So if I undo that, I just want to show you something real quick. Okay, there we go. This window here is at 1'6" sill height. This one's at 1 foot. So if I select them both, I'm not going to see anything in sill height because they're both different. I can put a number in there, 1.5 feet, and then that'll make them both the same. And hit apply, or yeah, there we go, and hit apply. So there, I like those two windows. I don't really like where they are in the wall just yet. So I'm going to go back to my plan. I'm going to click on this one. Here is our amazing temporary dimensions again. So I'm going to click through this till it's the inside edge. And then I'm going to click through this until I get the left edge of the window. And I'm going to say, oh, let's do 2 feet from that edge. And for this one, I'm going to do 2 feet as well. There we go. Now I'm going to grab these two windows. So I clicked one, held down control, click the other. And I'm going to go up to the modify windows tab, which is automatically there as soon as I selected the windows. And I'm going to go to the mirror pick axis. So I'm going to grab this one right here. You can type in MM for that, or you can do draw axis, but I'm going to do pick axis. And I'm just going to hover over the middle of this wall and click. Okay, now those walls, those windows were mirrored right over this, the center line of this wall. And since these rooms are all sort of should be equal in their dimension, let's just see where this one was positioned. Let's see if I move it to the rightmost edge and the leftmost edge. Yep, 2 feet there. Leftmost edge and rightmost edge, not quite 2 feet. I'm going to put 2 feet right here. And now I have sort of the same condition. What I'm sure happened in that case was that, you know, this is going from the left edge of the gypsum wall to the center. This room's going from center to center. So that's why we're seeing that discrepancy there. So I'm going to grab these two windows now, and I think I have them selected, and I'm just going to mirror them about here. I'm going to mirror those guys. I'm going to do it again, mirror those guys about here. Do it again, mirror these guys about here. And one more time to there. Now I'm just going to check these two. Yep, a little more than 2 feet. I'll do 2 feet there. And I will check this one, which I'm guessing is 2 feet. I can just double check this one. Yep, 2 feet. So that looks pretty good. So what we've created, these cool like slit-like windows that sort of bring light in and wash light along each wall in these office spaces. So maybe they're not necessarily meant for looking out, but they're sort of they're just sort of a way to bring light in to light the room. So let's go to the 3D view and let's see what we've done. There they all are. So again, what's amazing about windows and doors is that we are, that one okay? Yeah. We're drawing in 2D, in this case, in the first level plan, but things are being, of course, modeled in 3D. So that's very, very cool, very efficient, very helpful. Okay. So, what was I going to explain that's also helpful? Oh, yeah. If I grabbed one of these windows and just hit delete, you can see the wall goes back just like as if it was a door, and I hit delete. I don't have to redraw that kind of stuff. Super helpful. I mean, that takes a lot of time out of your drafting. Okay, very cool. Okay. All right, so we have Let me go to my list here, make sure I'm getting everything. Yep. I think the main thing to notice with the doors and windows is really these temporary dimensions, how we can place geometry, click on that geometry, and we can sort of see these temporary dimensions that Revit automatically sets up. We can adjust those temporary dimensions and we can move things around. One thing on temporary dimensions that I didn't show you is that if I want to, let me select this window, for example. Let's say I want this left edge here to be somewhere else. Say I had a wall, and in fact, I'll just draw a wall over in space here. So here's my window. So I have this wall way over here. Now, if I just click on these, it's just going to fluctuate through this wall right here, right? The left side, the middle side, the right side. But I can also click on this point and hold down with my left mouse button and move that witness line somewhere else. So now I can click and hit these three parts of this wall. Like if I know that I want this window to be 12 feet or whatever the case may be from this right edge of this wall, I could punch that in right here. Okay, so let me delete that there. So the point I'm trying to make there is that there we go. You have different witness lines at your disposal, and you can sort of place them where you like. You can. You're not tied to what's given to you. Okay. All right. Let's see here. I am back. I was just looking up a solve for something. So sometimes when you click on an element and you adjusted the dimensions just like I did when I had the wall over on the left-hand side, it's really annoying. But now when I click on the window, the dimensions aren't there anymore. So how do I get them back? Because if I click on this window, hey, I got my temporary dimensions there. How come I can't see them anymore in this one? Now, why is that? Is it because I edited them with that other wall? I'm not sure, but let me just show you a trick to sort of make this editable with dimensions again. So I'm going to go up to Annotate, Tab, and go to Align Dimension String. And I'm just going to hover over this wall, and I'm going to hit Tab until I get the right edge. And then I'm going to hover over this wall, and it looks like it's highlighted right away. So I'm just going to click, and it looks like I've made a dimension string right from the left edge of the wall to the window. Now when I select the window, this gets kind of activated, and I could change it to, say, 1 foot, and it moves just like as if they were temporary dimensions. I'm going to undo that. Now, the only difference between this and temporary dimensions is if I printed this floor plan, this dimension would show, right? It's on there, right? Well, when I click this one, the dimensions, temporary dimensions appear. So here it is, 2 foot. Now I've done the adjusting I need. I'm just going to get rid of it then. So that's another way to sort of get those temporary dimensions sort of, if they disappear for you and kind of glitch out, you can bring it back by just making your own dimension. Okay, so we have a nice floor plan set up here. We've got a 3D view of our model here. You just rotate that down. Now what I'd like to do is put a roof on. Just deselect everything. Let's turn my shadows back on. I'm going to put a roof on and put a floor in. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. So I'm going to go to an elevational view. Now, if you remember in the level 1 plan, I had these like little elevation markers out here. These are saying, hey, this is a view that's looking this way. This is a view that's looking this way, and so on. It's part of the default template for Revit. And it gives us these cardinal directions of elevations over here. I guess it would be over there in the project browser. So what I want to do is let's go to the south elevation. I'm going to double click that. Here is our masterpiece, our south elevation. Look at that, 2 doors. Who doesn't want to go into this building? I'll tell you who, nobody. Okay, so there's two ways to go in this building. It's like in, out, come get your architecture and leave. It's like a assembly line or something. So what can we see in these elevation views? Just to give you some sense of elevation views, we can see the grid lines that we placed in the floor plan, and I can sort of adjust them in here to read better. Okay, so they were kind of lining up with the bottom of the building there. I sort of wanted to pull them down so I have a nice difference between the actual architecture and the annotation on the page. So remember, this is grid lines 1, 2, and 3. If I go to my floor plan, so if I'm looking at the south elevation down here, this wall, yeah, here's grid line 1, 2, 3. So that makes sense. I'm not going to see the other grid lines because in the south elevation, I'm looking at the plane in which those grid lines exist. The other thing I can see here is the level 1, 0, 0. That's what elevation it is. So for the purposes of this model, ground plane is at 0, 0. Okay, no elevation. And level 2, at least that's what we're calling it at the moment, is 10 feet. Let's change that. Let's change level 2 to roof. Okay, I'm going to double click on level 2, the word, and just type in roof. I'm actually not going to put a level 2 in here. I just want to change this to the roof level instead of level 2. This level 2 is just what this program has given me as the default template. We can move these levels wherever we want. So 10 feet, that's fine for now. Now, after I change it, you see this little window comes up. It says, would you like to rename corresponding views? What that means is in the project browser over here, right here, there already is a level 2 there because that's what it was called, level 2. What this is asking is, do you want to change that name over there as well as the ceiling plan level 2? Do you want to change those names to roof now? And I'm going to say yes. Okay. Now, if you look over in the project browser, instead of level 2, it says roof. Okay. So that it does that for you. Super slick. So our roof is now at 10 feet. If you remember, if I select one of these exterior walls, I told this wall to go from level 1 up to the roof, right? So let's go to my 3D view here. This wall right here, if I hover over it and hit tab, selects all the exterior walls in that chain, and I click. Okay, so this wall is going from level 1 up to level roof. Now, what I'd like to do is put a 1 foot thick roof slab. We'll call it a generic material. What is in that 1 foot? I'm not exactly sure yet. And I don't really care yet because I'm sort of just designing. I want that to live right above those interior walls. And I want my exterior wall to sort of go up a little bit. I don't want the roof to be sitting on the exterior walls. I want to be inset within it. Okay, so let's just do the roof slab first, and then we'll move the exterior wall where we want it and the interior wall to meet whatever roof we need, or make any adjustments in the interior wall height once we get the roof in there, because it'll be easier to see. Okay, so let's go to the roof floor plan. Okay, here it is. Now, the roof floor plan, there's nothing cut through, right? Because if you remember, in a typical floor plan, right, say this level, yeah, that looks about right, is level 1. Okay, this line represents level 1. It's a plane going through our entire model. Our floor plans typically cut 4 feet above level 1. So that is where that cut is going to occur. So if this level is not level 1, but now it's the roof, if I'm going to cut 4 feet above that, there's nothing up here, right? There's nothing in my model above. Go to my 3D plan. There's nothing in my model above the roof level. So there's nothing to cut. That's why in this floor plan, it looks grayed out. Okay, so let's make a roof. So I'm going to go to architecture, roof, and I'm going to hit the little down arrow, and I'm going to do roof by footprint. okay? Because what I'm going to do is sketch out the footprint of my roof, and then it'll create it for me. So I'm going to hit roof by footprint. All right, now let's look at our type selector first. Generic roof, 12 inches, 12-inch thick of stuff. We don't know what it is yet, nor do we care. Look in my ribbon toolbar. It looks a little different, okay? I have a red X and a green check and some other stuff. Okay, anytime you see a red X and a green check, that means you are in a tool. Okay, so you're right now I'm in the roof tool, and it's asking me for a boundary line. So look here, I have this is currently set to boundary lines, and I can draw a line to define the boundary line. So I want to draw the boundary line of my roof. Okay, couple other things to notice is that in your properties palette here, the base level where this is going to be drawn is at the roof level. I could put it at the level 1 level, but that would be a little weird. But I want this roof to be at the roof level. So I'm going to click roof. All right, so I have my line work, my line drawing here. I have boundary line selected, and I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back to where I started. Now, a couple things to know. First off, it's a pink line, so I just hit escape twice. Okay, so I'm done sort of drawing my boundary. There's a pink line to show where I drew that boundary. I drew it on the inside edge of that exterior wall. A couple other things to notice is that there's these weird little triangles here. Now, what that means is that currently, if I click on one of these edges, that edge of the roof will have a 912 pitch slope. That means it's going to slope from this edge up to the middle at a 912 angle. Same thing's going to happen over here. Same thing's going to happen over here. Same thing's going to happen over here. This means it's going to be a pyramid, ugly roof. Okay. On my slick office buildings with the 2 entry doors, I just want a nice flat roof. I don't want any slope in there. Okay. So here's how you can fix that. I'm going to hold down Control and select all my boundary edges. And I'm going to go up to the Options tab here and uncheck Define Slope. Now there'll be no slope, flat roof. Okay, then I'm going to go up to the green check and just hit the green check. That means, hey, Revit, I'm done drawing the boundary line for my roof. Can you make me a roof now? Okay, so I hit the green check. And you might see this from time to time where Revit's saying, hey, time to save, bro. And you can do that if you want, or you can just hit the red X here and ignore that. Okay, so it looks like nothing happened, but I don't see a green check or a red X up here. So that means I've really left the roof tool and I've left it properly. I've done what I was supposed to do, and I hit the green check and got out of there. You can always hit the red X and just sort of cancel the command, but you'll see that a lot, that green check and the red X. Different commands have multiple steps that we sort of have to finish and then get through. Let's go to the 3D view. So we did in fact make a roof. It's this giant blue slab, right? And it's right at the roof level, and it's going up 1 foot. Okay, here's what I want to happen though. I want it to be at the roof level, but instead of my roof slab going up 1 foot and being created up here, I want it to come down 1 foot and be created down here. So I'm going to select my roof slab, and right over here in the properties, it says base offset from level. I know my roof is 1 foot thick. I'm going to set this to -1 foot and hit enter, and then hit apply. So it just moved down. Okay, it's basically in the right location. Our wall out here is 10 feet high currently. And that is where the roof level is. And the roof goes 1 foot down from there and it fills in that area. Okay. But now what I'd like to do, so the underside of the roof is at 9 feet, right? So, because it's a 1 foot thick slab. So what I want to do now is actually make my exterior wall pop up a little bit from the roof. So it's not flush with the roof. More often than not, on a flat roof type of structure, there's going to be what's called a parapet, which is the part of the wall that extends from the roof up. In this case, I want it to come up, say, 2 feet from the roof level. I don't want it to just stop at the roof level. So I'm going to hover over one of these walls, hit tab so it selects all my exterior walls, and then click with my left mouse button. Now I've selected all my exterior walls. I'm going to go over to my properties palette, and instead of base offset instead of base offset, I want to go to top offset. I want our walls to go to the roof and then go an extra 2 feet up and hit apply. Now look at that. We got a nice parapet right going up above from where our roof is. Okay, so nothing should look different in our floor plan because that's, we're 4 feet off the first floor there. There's nothing happening there. Okay, so let's do this. Now, one thing we want to check out, pardon me, bubbly water. One thing we want to check out is, do our interior walls meet the bottom of our roof? Okay, so there's multiple ways to do that. I could go into the 3D view and zoom in there and try to get in there and figure it out. Or we could do this. We could draw a section. So let's go to level 1. And let's go up to the View tab. And let's go to the section icon right here. And click it. Now I'm just going to draw a section from right here. I'm going to draw it, say, through this window, all the way through my structure to there. Okay. I'm going to hit escape a couple times. I can click on the section, hit my third mouse button and sort of position it. I'm sorry, not my third mouse button, my left mouse button, and sort of move it and fine tune its position. So I got it going right through the middle of the wall. Now, if you remember from sections, the arrow here is pointing in the direction we're looking. So a section is what? It's a slice, vertical slice through the building here. We're going to kung fu chop the building there. We're going to turn the building and look at it. So we can look inside the building, almost like a dollhouse. The arrow is telling us which direction we're going. And when I click on this section cut, this box here tells us how far into the building we can view. So for example, if I did it to here, this room would look exactly the same in my section cut, but this room would be shortened because I'm not seeing that back wall. So I'm going to keep this all the way down there. And maybe I'll put my section here, kind of clean this up a little bit. It's kind of nice that my numbers up here and the section marker line up there. Okay, so we've made a section, but how can I see it? So I can go to my project browser. And if you look on your list down here, now there's a sections. So if I click that and click section 1, here we are. Okay, so here's my exterior wall. Here's my window. Here's my roof. Here's my exterior wall. And here's my interior wall. And it's meeting my roof just fine. So I don't need to change the interior walls at all. So that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's, in the section view, in the project browser of the section view, let's right click on section 1 and rename it to North South, so NS section 01. Okay, it's always good to name it. Okay, a couple things you might notice in here. Our grid line bubbles are huge. Okay. And we got this weird little like box around it. Okay, so let's just talk about a couple things. The way to change right now, if I look in the bottom left-hand corner, it's a 1/8 inch equals a foot. That's the scale of this drawing. Now, if I click on that scale and change it to a quarter, notice my bubbles got smaller and my labels got smaller over here. That looks more appropriate and looks like that would be more reasonable. And maybe we'll put that on a sheet and we might have to rescale it again, but for now, that's fine. But that's a way to sort of reduce the size of those things so you don't have to be like kind of blinded by the A and the B. The other thing we see here is this right here. And this is sort of your clipping boundary. So if I move this over, notice I can hide part of my section and I can expand this and move it around. You can do the same thing in plan with, if I select the section with these guys right here, just like I did for the back end of it. So that's what that is. I'm gonna go back to the section. Now, when we make our drawings and stuff, I don't want to see that line. That's kind of, I don't like to see that in there. So I'm gonna turn it off. And you can do that right here. The shadows is the sphere with the little shadow. Go 2 over to the right from there. 1, 2, and hit that little hide crop region and turn that light bulb off on that. And there it goes. So this is looking to be a reasonable section right now. Likewise, we can, next to the section, or I'm sorry, the scale, we can hit the detail level and I can turn that to fine. And now I can see the makeup and construction of my walls there as well. Okay, let's make a floor real quick and we'll be done with this lecture. I know I'm rambling. Okay, so we want a floor at level 1. And in that case, I want that floor to happen right at level 1. And all of its construction should happen below level 1 so that when my feet are on level 1, they're actually on level 1. So let me go to level 1, floor plan. And we really want a floor that lives on the inner edge of this exterior wall, just like we did the roof. So I'm going to go up to architecture and I'm going to go to floor architectural. We'll leave it on generic 12-inch for now. Oh, look at this. We have our red X and our green check back, and we're on the boundary line again. The level for this floor is going to be placed at level 1, right where we want it. Now, instead of doing lines, let's do a rectangle. And I'm going to go from the inner edge here, and I'm going to go to the inner edge corner over here. Now, I want to snap to that corner, so try to be deliberate. Now, if the line weights are screwing you up, you can always turn on thin lines. Oh, it looks like it wants me to start the rectangle over, but that's fine. I'll do it from, I'll just do it from this inner drywall edge. Let's see what else I can do here. You can always adjust it later, but I'll just do it that inner drywall edge to this inner drywall edge and hit the green check. Okay, and let's go to that north-south section and look at that. We have a floor in there. So unlike the roof, how the roof would draw it above the level, the floor will always draw it below. But we can always adjust that with offset. So this floor is right where we want it. Okay, I know this looks goofy because we don't have any footings and foundations down here yet. And this floor is kind of floating there, but that's how we're just going to leave it for now. So what did we do in this lecture? We added those kick-ass windows on this side. Okay, very cool. We've added a roof on the top and we've added a floor. I know it's ugly in the middle here. We'll deal with that for now. Okay, so I'm going to end this lecture, and then in the next lecture, we'll do annotation and then we'll do printing. All right, guys, thanks.